This, um, I am in the middle of getting ready to leave town, but I know I've been kind of sporadic with my help videos, so I wanted to make sure that I got one recorded for you for week 13 in the middle of packing and grading and getting ready to go out of town. So this week, let's see, we're in week 13, and I believe I am all caught up with grading as of today. There may be a few late assignments still sitting in my to-do list for grading. But other than that, all on-time submissions should be graded and up to date. So now is a good time to take a look at your grade and see if there's anything that you're wanting to maybe use late passes on. If you have some time over the break, that might be a good time next week to use those late passes and get those assignments done. So the way you would do that, if you haven't used your late passes yet, is you would submit the assignment. So if it's maybe a test in my Spanish lab or a composition in Blackboard, submit the assignment. And if it's in Blackboard, just include a note that you want to use a late pass. If it's in my Spanish lab, send me an email because I have to go in and accept that submission and transfer the grade over into Blackboard. So if it's a my Spanish lab assignment, get it done and then send me an email saying that you'd like to have that assignment accepted with a late pass. And then let's see, the signature assignment is in progress. Hopefully you've gotten a good start on that. It's written in English, so it may not be as overwhelming to you or call your attention as much as some of the Spanish assignments. But don't put it off too much, and make sure that you budget some time for it, because even though it is written in English, it does require some research on your end. And in order to do a thorough job with that, you'll want to spend some time on it. So then the other thing, sorry about the interruption. I wanted to also talk just a little bit about the subjunctive mood, because I haven't done any help videos on that yet. There are some instructional videos in Blackboard over the last few weeks about the subjunctive, but I wanted to just talk like I would with you if you came into my office to get help with the subjunctive. So the subjunctive is tricky for both native Spanish speakers and Spanish learners, because it's something that we don't necessarily, one thing that makes it tricky is that we don't really use the subjunctive a lot in English. It's kind of falling into disuse. There are places where we used to use it all the time, and now it's almost just as acceptable to use the indicative mood instead of the subjunctive in English. So that's one of the reasons why it's a little more tricky. And then, of course, it's just another verb conjugation to learn. So remember, when you're conjugating in the subjunctive mood, what you want to do, the present subjunctive, is conjugate in the case of like stem changing verbs and irregular verbs. What you want to start with is the yo form of the verb. So it's good just out of habit just to start with the yo form all the time. Start with the yo form of the verb. There's a few irregulars that this doesn't work for, but for the most part it does. So let's say we are working with the verb hacer. And I'm wanting to say, I hope that you do your homework. Okay, so I say, yo espero que, I hope that. And that's not a subjunctive. And then the second part of the sentence is what needs to be subjunctive. Yo espero que, we want to use the verb hacer, to do. So I'm going to conjugate it in the yo form first, hago. That gives me the correct stem. So I take off the o, that leaves the stem H-A-G, ag. And then we always use the opposite ending. So for AR verbs, the subjunctive ending is going to end with, the primary vowel in the subjunctive ending is going to be E rather than A. ER and IR verbs, the primary vowel is going to be A instead. So hacer is an ER verb, so we're going to use the vowel A. So it would be, yo espero que ustedes hagan la tarea. I hope that you do your homework. If I want to say, I hope that you rest during the break, I would say, yo espero que, and there's no stem change or anything like that, so descansar is the verb. I would say, yo espero que ustedes descansen. So the indicative mood, the present indicative, would be descansan. The subjunctive becomes descansen. So you'll hear the sound is not very distinct. It's very close. It's easier to tell in writing if you're using the subjunctive correctly or not, if you're using an or en. For those endings in spoken Spanish, it's hard. That's what makes it difficult sometimes for Spanish speakers, native Spanish speakers, is because they don't necessarily realize when they are and aren't using the subjunctive. But you use the subjunctive, you're always going to use it when there's another phrase in the sentence beforehand that uses the indicative, like espero que, I hope that. And it's when the second part of the sentence isn't necessarily reality. It's doubt, or it's hope, or it's influence, or something like that. But it's what the subjunctive is stating is not necessarily reality as of this moment. So hopefully that helps give you a little bit better understanding of the subjunctive. I know it's a big topic. It's a lot to learn. That's why it's covered over several chapters in my Spanish, or in Arriba. So you'll learn several of the lessons about subjunctive in this class. If you go on to 201, it will finish out the subjunctive at the beginning of 201. So you won't even learn all the different uses of the subjunctive in this class, just because of the way the textbook is divided up among the classes. So, but that doesn't mean that you can't understand the gist of it. And certainly you want to make sure that you understand the conjugation of the subjunctive. It will be on the final exam. So keep reviewing that. Keep working through those My Spanish Lab activities that use the subjunctive. And if you have questions, shoot me an email. Again, I will be available over email while I'm out of town over the next 4 days. But make sure that you include lots of detail in your email. Assuming that I won't be able to get onto Blackboard or My Spanish Lab to check on what you're asking about. So I hope that's helpful. Have a great week, and if I don't talk to you online before then, have a great break, and I will see you all after Thanksgiving break. And gracias.